One fact for every Winx Club episode. Season 1. The first ever episode of Winx Club premiered in Italy at 5:15 p.m. on Wednesday, the 28th of January 2004. During the first group transformation, the song says "We are the Winx," despite their club not being named yet.
What does Winx mean?
This is the only time that both the opening and ending themes are used as background music during the episode. This is the first episode of the series in which we don't see any fairy forms or transformations at all. In the English Cineloom dub, Tekna's lines in the last scene are delivered by a different voice actress. The first group transformation with all 5 fairies together takes place in Cloud Tower School for Witches. A lot of the scenes in this sequence is sped up to match the pacing of the song. This episode introduces the Trix's vacuums, which are crystals that they use to locate and eventually store mystical energies like the Dragon Flame. In the Cineloom dub, instead of saying Magic Winx before transforming, Bloom accidentally says Magic's Winx, which led to more variations of this mistake in some international dubs. We learned the names of Myrta and Lucy in this episode, despite their first appearances being in episode 7. But the Cineloom dub mistakenly calls her Mr. instead of Myrta. While Darcy was tampering with the simulation chamber, she is incorrectly shown in her witch outfit for one scene, as can be seen by her gloves, which she doesn't wear in her casual outfit. When Lucid's the Undine is telling the Winx about the giant turtle, a page is shown with text that is written in Elvish Tengwa, a fictional script created by J.R.R. Tolkien, author of the Lord of the Rings series. In 2020, all official and unofficial uploads of this episode at the time were removed because of the negative connotations of a scene regarding one of the Miss Magic's contestants' hair. It is therefore the only episode that is officially unavailable to watch on YouTube. In the English 4Kids dub, Mr. Brown and Mr. Bonner are comically renamed to Mr. Bonner and Mr. Bonner. The 4Kids version of this episode has a slightly extended intro for Stella's transformation sequence, which is never seen in the original version of the series or anywhere outside the series. At the end of this episode, the preview for episode 16 contains trick scenes from the season 1 trailer that were never used in the series. We can presume these were taken from an earlier version of episode 2. Despite her first appearing in Stella's nightmare in this episode, Queen Luna's first physical appearance would not be until season 5 episode 15. Diaspora makes her debut appearance in this episode, and when she transforms in the Cineloom dub, she accidentally says Diaspora Prince instead of Princess. Similarly to Bloom's error in episode 8, this also led to multiple international dubbing fails. Bloom's mouth is open when the top of her outfit appears in this episode only. This is also her last transformation in season 1, as her next sequence will not be until season 2 episode 3. When checking up on Headmistress Griffin after Icy's attack, Professor Zarathustra is missing from the scene until she turns around. The 4Kids version of Stella's transformation censors her body in episode 1, but this episode forgets about the edit and uses the uncensored version. This is the only episode in which the girls say their individual names before transforming in a group. This scene with the Tricks in the main hall of Cloud Tower shows them abnormally larger in scale, about 3 or 4 times bigger than usual, clearly an animation fail. This is the one time we ever see Tekna take off the zipper from her top, which actually functions as a pager. It projects an image of Timmy who's attempting to contact her. In the Cineloom dub, Bloom calls Sky Brandon again out of habit, even though she's now meant to have adjusted to the name Sky. However, this is a totally valid mistake for Bloom to make after 17 episodes of using another name.
I'm coming with you.
No, Brandon, I must go alone. You go on to Magic's.
When Bloom goes to pick up Sky and transport him to Althea, he actually becomes Brandon once more, but this time it's his body and not his name. It is unclear whether or not this episode contains Bloom and Sky's first kiss. It looks like they are simply imagining it right before they hug, but this could be unintentionally caused by the choice of visuals to set the moment. Regardless, this does happen to be the first on-screen kiss in the entire series. Season 2. The order of this episode's events changes between the original and 4Kids version. Originally, Aisha's introduction takes up the first half of the episode, but the 4Kids edit starts with the rest of the Winx right away, and breaks up Aisha's introduction to occur in between segments of the episode. In the Cineloom dub, Aisha's story mentions a pixie named Blinky, but her actual name is Glyn. We can assume Blinky was an earlier version of her name. This is the latest that a transformation sequence is shown in a season. Every other season shows at least one of the Winx transforming in episode 1, but this season's first is Stella in this episode. Princess Amentia states that previous princesses of Downland were free to pick anyone to become their husband, with the gag being accentuated by one of the busts being of a horse. The Tricks originally had another Gloomix design which was very different to their initial witch outfits. One element of Icy's original design appears in this episode when she freezes the footbridge. This is also the first time since her introduction that Flora does not appear in an episode. The 4Kids title of this episode, My Boyfriend's Wedding, is based on the 1997 rom-com My Best Friend's Wedding. The plot of the episode is arguably also inspired by the film. There is a scene with two Piffs in this episode. Aisha is asking Faragonda a question, while Piff is both in her arms and floating beside her. This is the first transformation to implement split screens, both 2 and 4 ways. When the girls transform, the editing of the scenes becomes a bit messy. Avalon's scene that should come after the transformation flashes briefly before it starts, and Flora's first scene begins to replay 3 times after it happens. This is the only transformation sequence in the series to have one Winx's scenes appear simultaneously in 2 windows of a split screen. Here we have Tekna and Flora's arms and bodies transforming at the same time. Not the Ogre is randomly selling drinks and ice cream in the corridors of Althea for a couple of seconds. It's Darcy's birthday in the 4Kids version of this episode, which led to American fans at the time thinking that this episode's release date, November 26th, was Darcy's birthday. Early releases of this episode include Aisha switching to another outfit when the mall officer approaches them, which was presumably fixed shortly after. This episode featured the Pachamen, a group who are a direct reference to the Gatchaman team from Science Ninja Team Gatchaman. Their names are almost exactly identical. This episode has a special ending in which you can see Myrta both on stage and in the crowd. Her illusion powers are top-notch. Some scenes from this episode were reanimated for the Halloween's Monster Mission doll commercial, with the special Halloween outfits. The earliest version of this episode was quite poorly made, so a lot of the animation was redrawn to match the quality of the rest of the season better. This episode also underwent the same treatment as episode 17, being touched up significantly due to the original looking too different. After being roasted by Dark Bloom, Flora's wings switch into Bloom's in an animation fail. This is the last time the Winx used their original everyday outfits. This is the first time that 2 characters earn a new transformation in the same episode. There is a scene in which Flora can be seen transformed in the Wildlands, despite not having earned her Charmix yet, therefore not being able to do so at this point in the series. The music that plays in this Charmix sequence has more instruments than when it appears in other episodes. The Art of Winx Club book, published in 2024, shows a deleted scene that follows Dark Bloom's transformation, in which she essentially lays down next to Lord Darkheart, who is smiling with satisfaction. In the final version, the episode ends when we first pan up to see Dark Bloom instead. The Winx are accidentally shown already wearing their Charmix accessories before the Charmix sequence. According to the Winx Club wiki, there was an event for the 10th anniversary of the show in Italy, in which this episode was voted by viewers as the best of the series. Season 3. This scene of Flora organizing her plants is randomly incomplete in every version of the episode except the 4Kids stub, which has all the intended animation frames from this clip. In the previous episode, Tekna read out the list of attendees for Stella's Princess Ball, which included Riven, Helia, Timmy, and Myrta, yet we don't see any of them at the ball in this episode. At least the 4Kids stub tried to give a reason why.
I can't believe that Helia's ship broke down. They might still make it.
The Cinelume dub of this episode changes the pronunciation of Nut's name to match how it's said in Italian, which means he's temporarily called Knut. This is also the only episode of the series since her debut that Aisha does not appear in. Stella's voice in the 4Kids dub was temporarily replaced in episode 2, and although the rest are delivered by her original voice actress, there is one line by her replacement that remains in this episode. Due to the 4Kids dub airing an early version of the beginning of Season 3, a lot of scenes in this episode were updated in later releases. Some examples include Bloom's outfit, background changes, and Flora's invisible cookie. The introduction of Tressa and Ligeia in the original episode does not indicate that they are Aisha's relatives. This information is only given to us in the Nickelodeon dub of this episode, and repeated in Season 5, which could mean they were never meant to be related in the original series. This was the last episode to be aired by 4Kids in America before its Italian release. After this episode's premiere on the 25th of November 2006, the 4Kids dub would take a 3-month hiatus. We see Aisha's Enchantrix sequence with her regained eyesight for the first time, but there are some frames from the blind version that stay in this sequence and are never removed. The 4Kids version of this episode has a brown background for Stella's fairy dust sequence, along with some hand-drawn frames for her fairy dust bottle. In this episode, we see that Myrta has now acquired a fairy form of her own. This somewhat concludes her story of swapping schools to become the Fairy of Illusions. There is a scene in which Flora can be seen in her Enchantrix form, despite not having earned it yet. This is the last time that Stella uses the Ring of Celeria in the series. An object which was once of major importance in Season 1 quickly faded into the background. This was the first time in the series that Techna was given a different hairstyle. This is the last episode in the series to feature the Magic Winx song and transformation sequence.
Bloom Magic Winx!
We're the Winx.
This is the last episode to have a new song with lyrics written by the original musical team, titled Never Be Alone. The Nickelodeon version of this episode leaves Bloom's Enchantrix theme in the original pitched instrumental. Fans have interpreted this in 3 different ways. The first is that it makes the moment stronger and more impactful, as Bloom is the last Winx to upgrade her powers. The second is that the incomplete song reflects the incomplete nature of Bloom's Enchantrix at this point. And the third is that Nickelodeon didn't receive the correct files to be able to insert the song here, which is most likely what happened, as there are numerous audio fails around transformation sequences throughout the Nick dub of Season 3. This is the only episode for which the Nickelodeon and 4Kids titles are identical, both being called The Omega Mission. When Valtor appears in the museum vault, the Winx perform a Lost World convergence. Bloom hasn't transformed yet, but there's one scene where she can incorrectly be seen in her Enchantrix form. The ballet teacher that appears at the start of this episode is never given a name, and never appears again. This episode's idea was actually suggested by the admin of Michael's Winx Club, a famous Winx fan site. In an amazing interview on the Winx Forever podcast, Michael shared that his favourite pixie was Digit, and around the time that Season 2 finished airing, he submitted the concept of one of the pixies turning big and fighting the Trix, which inspired the writing team to develop that into this episode. A lot of fans rewatched the Nickelodeon dub of Season 3 online via the Winx Club English uploads. This was the first of 4 episodes to be uploaded in the wrong order. Episodes 21 and 22 were swapped, as well as episodes 23 and 24. In the 4Kids dub of this episode, Bloom thanks Aisha, Layla, for passing a test within the Crystal Labyrinth, despite Techna being the one to do so. This mistake seems to have made its way into multiple other languages. The storyboards of this episode are drawn with the basic transformation form rather than Enchantrix, which implies that Enchantrix did not exist early in production, or that similar to Charmix, it was just a temporary booster. We also see the name Baltor written with a B instead of a V, a spelling which only the 4Kids dub maintained, as they were working on this season quite early. Right before the Winx begin their Enchantrix final attack, there is one missing animation frame which leaves behind a production slate. The Nickelodeon dub summarized the whole of Season 2 into one 46-minute special, referring to the main antagonist simply as the Shadow Phoenix rather than by name. So when Icy mentions Lord Darkar in this episode, Nickelodeon fans must have been very, very confused. The music used for Bloom's final fairy dust is the same as the one used exclusively when Aisha first earned her Enchantrix, acting as a full circle moment for the power of Enchantrix this season. Season 4. This is the first episode of the series to implement 2D flash animation techniques, which would be experimented 3 times this season. This new style would be developed further and become the new standard for Season 5 onwards. Bloom miniaturizes for the first time in this episode. indicating the completion of her Enchantix form, which was achieved in the Secret of the Lost Kingdom movie. The first job that the Winx take on Earth is as waitresses in a cafe, and their boss happens to be none other than Mr. Bonner, one of the men who nearly scammed Bloom's mother in Season 1, and who was being prosecuted in Season 2 for this reason. This makes it seem as though neither of them have any memory of this. Flora and Musa can be seen wearing their love and pet uniforms a couple of scenes before Stella actually introduces them. In the scene with Stella almost flying into incoming traffic, it's actually a 3D model of her Magic Winx form with Enchantix wings. Instead of a final group sequence before saying goodbye to Enchantix, we get this scene.
Winx Enchantix!
It's the same old song and dance with them. Speak for yourself, Oberon, I kinda like it.
At the start of episode 6, Musa mentions to the Winx that the Book of Fairies states that Believix comes with 3 extra sets of wings. Weirdly enough, this episode ends with Faragonda breaking this news to them again, and they all act shocked, including Musa. This episode was evidently made quite early in the season's production. Roxy's prototype color palette consisted of golden eyes and light blue sleeves, as can be seen here. Stella is given a one-time ability in this episode to sense Roxy being overtaken by negative energy from far away, and this is the only time that her powers are used this way. This is the only episode of the whole series with Musa in the title. The Nickelodeon dub of this episode is infamous for its censorship of Naboo's proposal to Aisha.
Words are escaping me, but well, Layla, will you marry me?
I was wondering if you'd like to be my forever girlfriend.
This episode is tied with episode 16 for having the most transformation sequences in the series, with a total of 5. Believix, Zoomix, Tracix, Roxy, and Believix number 2. The original English title card has a spelling mistake in the word attack, which is missing the letter C. This episode has 2 sudden outfit mistakes. The first is Bloom switching from her pajamas to her fruity music bar outfit while talking to Roxy, and the second is Brandon switching from his waiting uniform to his everyday outfit while serving 2 girls at the bar. The English dubs have Flora and Techna's spells create a defensive barrier, but the Italian dub has Aisha cast a plasma wall spell off screen. Since the barrier is green, it doesn't feel like Aisha cast the spell. This is the only episode in which the Winx use all 3 Super Wings. This is the only episode with a solo Super Winx transformation, when Bloom uses her Speedix to search for where Roxy should place the white circle. The specialists are attacked by Diana's plant monsters, which are similar to the Archwarder, a titan from Huntix Secrets and Seekers. This is another animated series by Rainbow, which was released earlier in 2009, the same year as Winx Season 4. Other than the original Italian version, the Sofix song was also dubbed by Finland and Norway. The entire beach scene at the end of the episode is mysteriously cut from its official English upload on YouTube. Bloom and Roxy's conversation fades to black and continues to the Winx in their dorms, instead of showing the Winx and the specialists on the beach at night. This scene is important as it shows Musa and Riven addressing their relationship and reconciling. This is the first time the Winx visit Italy, the show's country of origin. They come here to visit Sibylla, the Fairy of Justice, who lives in the Sibillini Mountains, a real location in Italy. Contrary to popular belief, Bloom's hometown of Gardenia is actually in California in the United States. This is the 100th episode of the series. When the Winx perform, lots of the crowd scenes are repeated from previous episodes, which makes the time of day inconsistent, despite the performance taking place at night. Oberon revives a white lily when he steals the black gift from the Winx, preventing them from saving Naboo. This is known as the funeral flower in most countries, often symbolizing purity, innocence, and rebirth. The giant lizard monsters on Tir na nog are similar to Garyon, another titan from Huntic. This is the last episode of the series to be produced with the digital ink animation style, and it's also the last to be produced in the 4:3 screen ratio. Season 5. In some scenes, Bloom has a weird alternative set of Believix wings with a different shape. These can also be found in the Season 5 trailer and in other instances throughout the season. Some of the background characters in Gardenia are actually from Angel's Friends, which was animated by SEK Studio in North Korea. Winx outsourced some of its animation to this studio, which could explain the cameos. This is the only time that the Winx are split up in a pre-transformation call, but still transform in one sequence, which is quite cool.
Magic Winx! Believe it! Magic Winx! Believe it!
This is the only title in the series to have the name of a transformation that is not used by the Winx within the same episode. This episode was chosen to be the Season 5 premiere in America, despite being produced as Episode 5. The Lilo premiered on the 26th of August 2012 on Nickelodeon in the US. The English dub gives the Sirenix book a female voice, while the Italian dub has a male voice.
The quest for Sirenix begins.
La ricerca del Sirenix ha inizio.
Flora's harmonics hairstyle was changed late in production. When she gets turned to stone, a drawing of her old hairstyle is used, which is further confirmed by official coloring sheets. Stella and Musa also had slightly different harmonics hairstyles at first. This episode marks the last appearance and mention of Naboo, unless you count the Mandarin dub, which refers to Nex as Naboo from Season 6 to 8. Stella hosts a fashion show with dresses based on Lady Gaga, possibly inspired by this crystal dress and the armadillo shoes. This is the only episode to feature the final chorus of the harmonics song, and it does so twice. This is the last time we hear Professor Saladin speak in the series. He only ever appears once more after this, at the end of the season. There is a flashback to the events of the Secret of the Lost Kingdom movie to remind us of how Sky helped rescue Domino. This is the only flashback to any of the movies in the series. This is the first episode to implement a new CGI look with fully 3D scenes for the opening sequence, the Sirenix transformation, and events that take place in the Infinite Ocean. When we initially see 2D Sirenix Bloom underwater, her new hair colors are inverted. The orange streaks should be blue, and the blue streaks should be orange. A promotional image of Season 5 DVDs in Serbia showed early titles for the second half of the season, which were completely different to the final product, with the original title of this episode being Naboo's Return. Perhaps he was intended to return originally, but this idea was scrapped. 3D animator Chiara Porri was a senior character animator and layout artist from June to November 2012, where she worked on some scenes from this episode as demonstrated by her rainbow CGI progression reel. Her distinct expressive style makes her shots stand out from the rest of the 3D in the series. This is the last time the Magic Archive is visited or mentioned. Tecna and Musa infamously swapped spells and voices in this episode. Due to an early mistake in editing, they were each animated to cast the other's spell.
Petal Hurricane! Genesis Blow! Deafening Chord!
Like many moments across the newer seasons, Musa's childhood memory contradicts her backstory from Season 2. Her mother passed away when she was younger than shown here, and her father looks much older than he did at this time originally. Musa is the first to hint at the use of a Sirenix wish, regarding the possibility of bringing her mother back to life, but she doesn't go through with it. We never actually discover what Musa's wish was, or if she even used it. Despite Althea and the restaurant both being in Magic's, it is daytime at Althea and nighttime at the restaurant. In Season 8, Crystal Sirenix is automatically used due to the cold environment of Diamond, but Zenith's temperature doesn't seem to bother the Winx when they use their Sirenix in this episode. The simple answer to this is that the concept of Crystal Sirenix didn't exist yet. Riven performs One to One, the song he secretly wrote for Musa, yet Musa knows the melody and the words well enough to sing along with him. Most people theorize that it's Musa's guardian fairy abilities at work, with her being able to hear the secret song in every person's heart. But then she wouldn't have been so upset with him all season if she knew the song was there all along. It's probably just something the writers didn't want us to question. This is the only time we see land in the Infinite Ocean, which sounds quite strange when you think about it. Aisha's Sirenix Guardian appears in the Infinite Ocean to grant her wish, which is the only time we see one of the Guardians in 3D. There are two versions of the Magic of Tonight song. The full song was originally written and performed by Elisa Rosselli, but the series version is sung by Cassidy Ladden and Catherine Ryer. Their version of the song can only ever be heard in this episode, but it was also featured in an official Chinese video. Season 6. Matt Shively shared a behind-the-scenes picture in July 2013 of him recording for Sky in this episode. The picture reveals that Sky's lines were recorded on the 25th of June, roughly 3 months before the season's premiere date. The Pixies are reintroduced in this episode, but Musa and Tekna are now bonded with Cherie and Kara from Pop Pixie, permanently replacing Tune and Digit. Stella jokingly transforms the Winx' hair and outfits into bushes and hedges, and Musa's hair references her original pigtails from seasons 1 and 2. The training scene with Aisha, Musa, and Bloom is featured in the opening credits of this season with a different background, but you can tell the original blue has just been chroma keyed out because Bloom's eyes, which are a similar blue color, become transparent. Ariana Grande voiced Diaspora until this episode, with Cassandra Lee Morris taking over the role this time. Interestingly, she previously voiced Chimera in the 4Kids dub under a different name. The official Vietnamese upload of this episode is the most viewed Winx Club episode on YouTube, with 29 million views as of 2025. The Russian version of this episode is a close second at 24 million views. An earlier and slightly more dramatic version of Musa's reaction to the mummies can be seen in the Who is Selena secret video, uploaded by the official channel prior to the episode's release. This episode premiered too early in Italy on the 10th of February 2014, 4 days before episode 6, and a whole week before episode 7 would be shown anywhere in the world, which means Italian viewers didn't have context for how Bloom earned her Bloomix, and all viewers didn't know why the Winx were in Egypt, or who Eldora was and why they cared about her diary. On the 14th of May 2014, Nickelodeon US announced they would be hosting a Magic Marathon, with this being the first of 8 episodes to be aired exclusively online. This episode would never be aired on American TV until the 3rd of August 2015, almost an exact year after Season 6 was fully finished in Italy, and by which time Season 7 had begun in other countries. Selena was very bold to have worn the Legendarium as an accessory the whole time she was infiltrating Althea, and the Winx were very silly to have never questioned it. When the Tricks interrupt her secret conversation with Acheron, Selena closes the Legendarium, but its cover is now mirrored and incorrectly placed at the back of the book. When running back to Gardenia's fashion show, the Winx accidentally have Lanusia flowers in their hair, which are supposed to be given to them in the next episode when they visit Eldora's cottage. Vanessa starts the episode by asking Bloom how dinner is coming along, but when Bloom brings the pizzas to the table, she says lunch is served. There is a version of this episode in which the preview of episode 15 features unfinished animation play blasts of the 3D mythic scenes that had not been rendered yet. This was the first episode to air coming back from the mid-season hiatus in Italy, with the series now being demoted from Rai 2 to Rai Gulp, for a target audience aged 8 to 14. The Fantasy Emerald is much larger in Bloom's hand in the Legendarium world than in the real world. This is the only object that changes in size between worlds. The first English release of this episode on Nickelodeon UK had Bloom saying Cyrenix before the Bloomix transformation, which was fixed in later releases, but this infamously set off a multitude of dubbing errors across the globe, due to most languages translating the English script and either not catching the error or not being allowed to make changes. Despite being in her winter outfit for the whole episode, Daphne's full transformation sequence is shown, which was animated with her dress from episode 1. This mistake also occurs in episode 20. This is the last time in the series that Bloom is not first in the transformation order. Stella seems to be unable to snap her fingers and leave the Legendarium world unless she returns to the spot where she originally arrived. While the amount of time spent in the Legendarium world is repeatedly raised as a concern, the location from which you can or can't enter or exit is never addressed. Although Zenith is depicted as a cold planet in every other season, the weather feels perfectly fine this time. The Winx's houndstooth-inspired outfits don't seem like they were made for low temperatures. When Musa discovers the music cafe and sings to awaken the magic instruments, her voice is so powerful that most of her hair is missing in one scene. When Eldora appears to help the Winx, she's talking about the Althea anthem doing well on streaming platforms, but she's actually listening to the Bloomix song, specifically the version used in this episode's transformation sequence. Tune and Digit, the two pixies who had seemingly been erased from the main lineup, appear in this episode when Aisha brings them all back from the Legendarium world. Bloom's solo mythics is the last 3D transformation sequence in the series. Bloom is shown in the Legendarium's pages with an early version of her Mythics design, where her hair is tied up in a ponytail. Season 7. Season 7 first premiered with this episode on Nickelodeon in Greece on the 24th of May 2015. When travelling to the past, Faragonda and Griselda are shown to be studying at Althea at the same time, but Griselda seems significantly younger than Faragonda in present time. Musa does not say anything in this episode except for pre-recorded bits like her power line. The power lines from seasons 5 to 7 were usually one take reused in every episode, but this is the only episode in which all 6 girls have a different recording for their power line. This is the first of many episodes with colouring fails for the Butterflix wings. Flora and Aisha are seen with Tekna's purple colour, and Tekna is seen with Aisha's turquoise colour. Out of the whole 1 minute and 40-second Butterflix sequence, only 41 seconds of it are actual transformation, while the remaining 59 seconds are the dance. Flora is so overprotective of her sister Miele that, once she's sat on top of a giant ladybug, she immediately teleports off of it in the next scene to stop Miele from getting on one herself.
Here I come!
You and I need to talk.
This is one of the only 2 times that the Winx transform into their Butterflix from their Season 7 everyday outfits, for which there is a special intro. The background of Musa's Melody of Fairy spell is the same as her Blue mix. A lot of the flying animations from this episode were reused in promotional videos for the Winx Worldwide Reunion in 2015, replacing the night sky with real-life footage of Italian beaches. When Shiny raids Stella's jewelry box, her Ring of Solaria makes a brief cameo. The ring hadn't been seen since Season 3, and it definitely won't be appearing again now that Shiny's eaten it. As suggested/spoiled by the title, this episode introduces a fairy animal for Tekna. Also, Flitter is female in the Italian dub and male in the English dub.
Tekna, you are brave! Tekna, sei così coraggiosa!
The Love and Pet building can be seen hidden in the establishing shot of Gardenia, marking its only appearance outside of Season 4. This is the last time that the Winx earn a new temporary transformation, i.e. one that doesn't fully replace its predecessor. When the Winx return from the mini-world of Precious Stones, they are still in their Tynix forms, as well as their fairy animals. This must have been a mistake because Tynix is only for mini-world access. Before transforming, there is a black background behind the Winx. Either the background image of Paradise Bay was forgotten in the final edit, or it was weirdly intentional. When using her Tide of Andros spell, Aisha's magic incorrectly shows butterfly effects, normally used in Butterflix spells. The song Mon Ami My Friend plays at the end of this episode, but it is significantly slower than the full soundtrack, perhaps to fit the allocated musical time slot, and to match the animation better. The Italian title card misspells L'arcobaleno di Magix as L'arcobaleno di Magic. This is the last episode in the series to first air outside of Italy. This episode premiered in the UK on the 5th of September 2015. Every episode from here on out would be released in Italian first. This is the last time the Pixies appear in the series. The Turkish dub of the opening song was edited poorly, being off-sync all season, until it was fixed from this episode onward. This episode mentions the Dimension of Legends twice, rather than the Legendarium world, which is what it was referred to last season. This episode attempts to end with a cliffhanger where Bloom might not survive the fall, but viewers are spoiled 5 seconds later in the preview of the next episode that Elas rescues her in time. The song So Wonderful Winx is looped twice, because the full song is too short to fill the duration of the party scenes. This is the last time that the Winx transform in a season finale. This only happened in seasons 2 and 3 as well. Season 8. Storyboarder Antonio Santamaria released his original work for the battle scene in this episode, in which we see Bloom being the only Winx in shot for the transformation core, in a more expressive pose. The final version has all 6 girls in the same standing pose. The early Rai Play release of this episode featured an unfinished version of Tekna's Cosmix transformation, in which the final green background did not appear. Bloom uses her Cosmix magic spell twice, but the spell is only named the first time. Out of all the spells used in this episode, which serves as a showcase of the new Cosmic's powers, only 3 of them are named. The bridge of the Cosmic song has additional beats which are not present in the final soundtrack. This alternative bridge also appears in episodes 10 and 17. One of Aisha's Cosmic's wings isn't mirrored correctly, which makes it look detached from her body in one scene. One of the instrumentals brought back and used in this episode was World of Winx's Jump Into the Fun, which was extended with extra synths. This episode has the earliest transformation sequence in the series, happening 15 seconds after the title card. This is the first time that the Winx revert to a previous transformation, without any further explanation. Fans were expecting this episode to provide context as to why Cyrenix would be returning this season, but it just seems to be something they could do all along. This is the only time that the phrase Winx Cosmix is used before a transformation. Some storyboard frames from this episode were released on the 15th of October 2018, around the time of the Frankfurt Book Fair, which is how fans originally learned that Riven would be coming back this season. Flora hides a gift for Helia in some roses at Red Fountain, just like she did back in Season 2. Both of these events happen in the 11th episode of their respective seasons. Here we see the last iteration of Bloom's childhood photos and memories, now illustrated in a more detailed version of the Season 8 art style. This episode retcons the way Baltor was first defeated by depicting him in space in his wizard form, rather than in his monster form from Season 3 on Andros. They also reintroduced Gardenia's oil rig from Season 5 Episode 1, that was supposedly converted into an eco-friendlier alternative, just to be destroyed immediately. This is the only time that the phrase Magic Winx Enchantix was said in the series. The word magic was absent before Season 5, which explains why this is the case. This is the last time one of the Winx can be seen visiting Red Fountain. When disguised at Althea, Icy wears a purse which looks like a white fox. This references Sapphire, her sister, and the backstory which we learn about towards the end of the season. On the 29th of July 2019, when the second half of the season had begun to air in Italy again with episode 14, this episode was accidentally published on YouTube and leaked by the official English channel, and was quickly hidden afterwards. This is the 200th episode of the series, and it is the only episode in Season 8 in which no transformations or fairy forms appear. A few weeks after its release, Elena Borroni released an acoustic version of this episode's song, If You Trust Me, in Italian, for which she was the official singer. Flora now says that her sister Miele is in her second year of Linfea School for Fairies, while in Season 6 she was in her first year of Linfea College. The aging down of Miele is very real. This is the last time Stella changes the Winx's outfits. Musa's Cosmic sequence is the last solo transformation of the series. Alessia Orlando's lead vocals are missing from the Cosmic song in both the English and Italian dubs, leaving only Elena Borroni and Elisa Aramonte's backing vocals. Crystal Cyrenix is the last transformation sequence of the series, during which there are almost no sound effects present. This episode hits us with the hard reality that the Tricks are not actually biological sisters, following Icy's new backstory.
I thought we were your sisters.
Companions. Allies, friends maybe. We call ourselves sisters, but we're not.
This finale bears some resemblance to the Season 3 finale, as both involve the defeat of Baltor, and both end in Althea at night with fireworks and lights in the sky. This is also the first time since Season 3 that the final episode doesn't immediately end after a song. Well, that was 208 facts about Winx Club. Thank you so much for making it to the end. Be sure to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video style, and thank you for watching.